Hey there, my name is Brady, and this is another one of my write-ups for my GitHub. Going to be walking through in video format. Moving over to my desktop here, I've got a bigger font today, so hopefully that'll be easier to see. But this is the Blogger Lab from Offensive Security's Proving Grounds, the Play Edition, which is the free version that anyone can access here. So jumping right in, we've already got this spun up. We can go ahead and save this as a variable. I'm going to export my IP as this here. And then we can go ahead and ping the value of our IP. And we can see that the box is pinging here. We can also see that we have a time to live of 61, just below 64, which indicates that this is a Linux machine. Next, we can go ahead and move in with our nmap scan. So we're just going to nmap, do a quick scan of our IP, and we'll call this nmap.quick. And we can go ahead and have Sublime Text pop up when that's done. So we can subble nmap.quick here. And we just have to wait a quick second, and that comes up. And we can see port 22 for SSH and then HTTP. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to do some details on here. So we'll do nmap.details and the same here, details. And then all I'm going to change here is I'm going to run the default scripts and do some service version enumeration. So this will take just a second longer to pop up here because it is doing some running in the background. Okay, so that just popped up here. We can see we have SSH, OpenSSH 7.2, and then we have HTTP for Apache, HTTP 2.4.18. Neither of these are versions that we know to be exploitable, so we'll move right past that, and we'll just go ahead and check out the website that's running here. So I'm going to grab that IP address one more time, and we'll go ahead and throw this in our browser up here. And we have Blogger. Hello, my name is James, and I'm a programmer. Good for James. See if we can make this a little bigger. It doesn't matter right now. But we have some login stuff, basic web page content. You can see, you can scroll through here. The only thing that there really is to interact with is a contacts form down here, right here. But I went ahead and checked this out, and there's actually no like SQL injection or anything else that you can do with this page. So this is going to test our skills to further enumerate this website. So what we can do is we can run a GoBuster dir with the URL of HTTP, and we're going to put our IP variable in there, and then we can use the word list of user, share, word lists, sec list, discovery web content, and then I'm going to use the directory list 2.3 medium. And we're immediately going to get some directories here, these images, assets, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm going to go ahead and stop it here just for timeliness because I know that what we're looking for is in the assets directory. And this is actually a little bit goofy, but I'll show you what's going on here. So if we move to this assets directory, we can see we've got CSS, fonts, images, and JavaScript. If we move further into this fonts directory, we've actually got a blog, which, I mean, this is a little bit annoying because who's going to put their blog in an assets fonts directory? This is actually pretty similar to some other things that I've seen on OffSec's platform, though, so I think this is kind of par for the course here. So if we click into this blog here, we can see we've got some blog content, just stuff from the OWASP website, looks like, being used as filler content here. And if we click on one of these blog posts, we can see we're not able to get to it because it's calling it blogger.pg. So what we can do here is just add this to our etc hosts file, and all we have to do is put that after the IP address. So drop that there, and then we're going to move our IP over. Oops, and we need our hosts file. There we go. So we'll just put that there. Go ahead and quickly save this, and then jump back over, and this should reload. Yep, and you can see here's our pseudo blog post for this OWASP content here. Paying attention to how they mark this question mark P parameter, we'll be using that in just a moment here. But going back to here, we can see we have some login links down here, and this, you can see it pops up a WordPress login PHP. So we're going to be interacting with WordPress here. So with this WP login PHP file, we know that we're going to be interacting with WordPress, and we can pop this open and we can look here. We even have a potential username back here. If we see, we have James with some funky LeetSpeak characters here. And we could try to brute force this page with that. But in this case, this is not going to be the solution. So since we're using WordPress, we can run WordPress scan here, and we can use the -h parameter to get our usage here for WordPress. And for this WP scan, we're going to be supplying the URL. This is going to be the URL of the actual assets fonts blog location that we're seeing all the WordPress content at. So we can just go ahead and move that over, do WP scan --URL. And then the only other thing that we need is that we need to turn the plugins detection mode to aggressive. This won't detect it without the aggressive plugins detection mode. And we can go ahead and run this, and it's quickly going to start running here. When I ran this for the GitHub walkthrough, it took 20 minutes to run. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut to when it's finished running. All right, so WP scan just finished running here. We can scroll up here and see our plugin time. So it was 21 minutes this time. So I got a little less lucky than when I was making the write-up. I think I got just over 20 minutes, so just over 21. Got the live video curse. But we did go ahead and identify 2 plugins here, the Akismet one that we see pretty frequently, and then this one here, the WordPress Discuss plugin. And this is the one that we're going to be targeting in this case. So we have a name and a version number. So we can go ahead and copy this. We just have to remember 7.0.4. So if we go ahead and run searchsploit, which is the terminal version of exploitdb, which is maintained by OffSec. So always a good idea to check those out if you're doing an OffSec machine. We can do searchsploit. We'll just run this, and then 7.0.4 was the version number. And right over here, we have an unauthenticated remote code execution, which is great. That's what we need right now. We don't have any creds, so unauthenticated is what we're looking for. We can grab this number here and go ahead and download that using searchsploit. It's going to be searchsploit M and then that number. Oops, got rid of the 7. There we go. So it's going to save it as this file. We can go ahead and check out that file. You always want to make sure that you read through this to make sure you know what it's doing. Since I've already done that, I'll save you the theatrics of going through that. But we can see it's going to take a URL and then a path parameter. So here we're going to run Python 3, and then we'll run our file name here. URL parameter is going to be, we can use our variable here, IP/assets/fonts/blog. And that page, we can grab that page that we saw earlier on the blog. So let's try. If we click on this one again, we can just grab that whole thing and throw it in there. Then theoretically, this should give us a web shell. And it says it does, upload success, and it gives us a path here. I'll see if it works this time. Last time it didn't. Yeah, so it's not running the commands in this terminal, but if we go to the actual web shell path, I believe it should work. So let's try that here. Okay, and we get our nasty GIF output, which kind of indicates that our shell's here. We can just add a parameter here. It's going to be cmd equals, and then we can run like who am I, and we see www data comes through. So we do have code execution at this point, and this is a good starting point. We want to go ahead and get a shell from here though. So we can test what we have on this box using the which command. So I'm going to check which Python, and we get no output indicating that we do not have Python. Let's try Python 3. And we do have Python 3, which is great. So now I'm going to go over to payloads, all the things. And we're going to check out the reverse shell cheat sheet. This is what we want. Click over to the page that they actually want us on. And then we're going to scroll down here to Python. We'll use the second one here because I know it translates from Python 2 to Python 3. I'll just put this down here. We're going to modify a couple of things here. We're going to modify this to Python 3. We're going to grab our own IP address and modify it here. So we're going to want 192.168.45.243. Port can be whatever we want. I'm going to do 443. In the case that you are running into a firewall, this will usually get through. I'm not sure if there is one in this case. I didn't actually check, but 443 worked. So we'll stick with that. And I'm going to change this from bin shell to bin bash, just because that's the preferred shell that I would like to use here. And we'll see if we can get that running here. So I'm going to open up a new one here. We'll do nc lnvp 443. So we've got our listener started. and then jump over to our web shell, and I'm just going to dump that in there. Let me make sure that's still in my clipboard. We'll dump that here and see if it hangs, and it does look like it's hanging, which is a good sign for us here. And then we do have a big nasty prompt here. So who am I? We're www.data, so we confirm that we do have a shell here. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is go ahead and stabilize the shell, and we can do Python 3 c import pty pty.spawn, and then we're going to call this bin bash. And that's going to go ahead and spawn a new pty using Python. We might not need one in this case, but it's always good just to go ahead and run that. Now we're going to use Control-Z here to background our shell, and then we'll do stty raw minus echo, and this is going to tell our terminal not to echo back what we're working with here. And we'll go ahead and foreground our shell one more time. We need to export the term variable to be xterm, and that will allow us to clear our shell. The reason it's typing like in the middle here is because the path is too long. Let's go ahead and cd back to home, which for this www.data user is the var www directory. And we can go ahead and do clear here. And from here, we can go ahead and move to our privesc. So I actually got excited when I was checking this one out for privesc. If we do a sudo tag l, we get nothing because we're www.data, but we don't have the password. So one of the first things that I checked out was the cron tab. So if we check out etc cron everything, we can see down here this backup.sh file that's running. And I wanted to check this out here. So I ran an lsla on this file, and we don't actually have write permissions to it. It's owned by root, but we can read the contents of it. So I catted it out, and it looks like it's changing to this home James directory and then doing a tar backup with a wildcard here at the end. So I was like, oh, cool, we might do some wildcard injection here. Checked this here. Oops, I need the leading slash. And if I do an lsla on that directory, you can see that we don't have permissions to write here. So I was like, oh, we're probably going to have to move to this James user and then exploit the wildcard. But actually in this case, if we check out the etc password file, and what I like to do is go ahead and grep for sh, and I'm going to go ahead and clear just so that we can see that more clearly. These are going to be the users that have a shell here, except for this SSH one that has sh in it. You can see we have our root user, we have Vagrant, Ubuntu, and then James. And in this case, the Vagrant user is using a default password, which is the Vagrant. So what we can do is we can switch user over to Vagrant. And it's going to ask for the password. I'm going to type in Vagrant here, and we get a Vagrant shell. If I do sudo tag l, they can run all with no password. So we can just do a sudo su. And then who am I? We're root. So from here, we can go ahead and cat out the flags. I'm not going to do that for this video just because I'm not really concerned with flags here. I'm just trying to show the process. This was rated as an easy machine by the publisher on the Proving Grounds platform. The community rated it as hard, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think it's a little convoluted trying to find the this Blogger PG fonts blog, the blog directory here in the fonts. I think this is a little off the wall. But as far as like offsec boxes go, and if you're preparing for OSCP, I think this is kind of like, this is right in the middle of the road of something that they might do. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. Just go ahead and make sure that you enumerate all of the assets that you get, assets in this case. But anything that you get, you might want to check the fonts directory. They might hide it in CSS or JS or whatever. But that's all I've got for this video. We were able to get root pretty easily on this one. Just wanted to go ahead and document the process here so that you can see something a little bit off the wall in terms of enumeration, and we'll go ahead and close this one out for today.